Thank you all. I assume that I'm supposed to start. Heather, am I supposed to start? Okay. It's really such an honor to have this event and to welcome you all today on the occasion of the 15th anniversary of the Center for Healthy Minds. In 1992, thank you. In 1992, when I first met His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I made a commitment to him on that day that I was going to do everything I could to put compassion on the scientific map. And then some years later, in 2010, the Dalai Lama visited us here in Madison, and actually he's been here in this room, and he visited us in 2010 to inaugurate the Center for Healthy Minds. We had already been in existence for about a year, and he helped us launch the center. And it's been really quite an extraordinary journey, and never would I have thought when the center first started that we would have a 15th anniversary during which we would really be honoring the work of 3 extraordinary Indigenous women. That was not part of the plan. And it's really quite extraordinary how that has all evolved. So you're all in for a treat tonight. It's really going to be special. And because this is Madison, this is our home, this is our family, we're going to try some new things. So put on your seatbelts and have a great time. There are more than 3,000 people watching us online tonight from more than 50 countries, including Burundi, Chile, Mexico, Denmark, Hong Kong, China, all over the world. So we are spreading our message really globally. I want to thank our sponsors for this evening, Jim and Judy Hirsch, Delta Properties, WCCN, Marcy Heim, and also thank our close partner, Healthy Minds Innovations, our affiliated nonprofit. A number of our board members are here, including our chair, Steve Arnold, who has been indefatigably working on our behalf for decades, and I really can't thank him enough. I also want to thank the staff and scientists at CHM and HMI for the amazing stations that they manned during the previous hour and a half. I want to thank the Loca Initiative, but I'll say more about that in a minute. I want to also thank the student organization Healthy Minds on Campus, which emerged spontaneously based on the course that we teach, the Art and Science of Human Flourishing. And I want to thank student ambassadors who are here tonight, as well as the UW Division of the Arts and the Arts for Healthy Minds grant recipients, all of whom are here. I want to thank the Wisconsin Masonic Center, Jonathan Eckelberg, Jonathan Eckelberg Productions, Atlas Pro, and Kavanaugh's, all of whom are playing a role. And I want to finally thank, and this is, I'll thank this person on numerous occasions tonight, I want to thank Heather Harris, who is our Director of Marketing and Communications. She's sitting back there. Heather, stand up. She's been a total rock star, and we've changed things, just a few minutes ago. And Heather has been just unbelievably responsive. So we're so grateful. So now I want to introduce one of the 3 amazing Indigenous women tonight, Tequila Chunglapa. I've known Tequila for a long time. And she hails from Sikkim, which is in the northern part of India now. She really is a remarkable person. Each of the three women tonight that I'll introduce is what I call an N of one. There's only one of these types of women in the world today. I met Tequila first at a meeting that we organized with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in India on ethics and ecology and interdependence. And she gave an amazing talk. She, at that time, was at the World Wildlife Fund. She then went to Yale and set up an interesting program there, but she didn't really get the kind of support at Yale that she really deserved. And through a circuitous process that I won't go into details, but it involves some magical moments, here she is in Madison, Wisconsin, at the Center for Healthy Minds, where she's launched the LOCA initiative. And I can't say enough about how she's able to really get stuff done in an amazing way. And she's made, she's developed trust and relationships with the indigenous communities in Wisconsin, but also with the evangelical communities all over the country, really trying to harness the opportunity of faith leaders to help us resolve or get out of the mess that we've created with the environmental crisis. So Tequila is going to say a few words and will show us a trailer of a documentary that she's been directing and producing on the sacred earth. Tequila.
Oh, deep breath to get over that very uncomfortable, embarrassed feeling I get when Richie introduces me. I couldn't do any of this without Richie. I should say that first. So, Tashidele, Kusuzangpo, Poso, everyone. I am so excited to be here to present a project that LOCA team loves to refer to as our love song to the planet. So this project is a project that we created when we actually met with indigenous leaders here in Wisconsin. We had a dialogue that was over a year long, just asking them what LOCA could do for them. And it developed through a trust-building, very deep trust-building, open, honest conversation about the suffering, just the losses Native peoples have had here. And when we think about all the things we love about Wisconsin, right? The Great Lakes, we think about the forests, we think about the grasslands. All of this is here because of the stewardship of Native peoples here. And the fact that we are on Ho-Chunk land even right now, on sacred land, is something that we have to honor and hold precious in our hearts. So over time, what developed was that they really wanted us to capture the indigenous wisdom and knowledge that exists right now in the Native tribes of Wisconsin, so that we are holding it for future generations. We're holding it for one another because we are in a time of environmental and climate crisis. And so how do we survive this as one community? How do we overcome what is to come, right? How do we build our resilience? So we, knowing nothing about movie making, said, okay, yeah, we can totally do that. We will produce a documentary. And then thankfully found a lot of people that wanted to work with us, Brave Bird Productions. There are a couple of folks here, Medicine Fish, Donovan is here somewhere. Brian is here somewhere, who founded Medicine Fish, and his brother Donovan is in the documentary. So we interviewed over 25 amazing elders, knowledge holders, youth, over 7 different Indian tribes of Wisconsin. We're going to launch this documentary April, May. Stay tuned. You're invited. It's going to be on the Menominee Reservation, and we're in the middle of post-production right now. And so I want to share the latest trailer so you are as excited as we are. Thank you.
Long ago, our ancestors, they knew how to live with the land and understand it. And that's the kind of things that we're trying to get back to help our people heal.
Being people of the land, we are unlike other people who have come to make their homes here, and that is our strength. We have to stand on that firm cultural and spiritual foundation that we as Anishinaabe people are blessed to receive.
We're talking about our grandmother, the earth. The veins in her body are representative of our blood. That's her vital organs, is these lakes, rivers, and streams.
We are the earth. Those plants are the earth. We are them, they are us. And that relationship is there.
Those are the teachers, right? Those are the ones that show us and help us to understand our lives.
You want to know what it means to be who you are, be in the place to hear them. It's the collection of pieces that lead us back to ourselves.
We can choose to keep going down the path of destruction, and we know where that's going to lead. Or humanity can make a different choice. Begin to go back to our natural laws, go back to the ways that our Indigenous people have always held on to and want to share.
When you're given that wisdom, the intent is that you then pass that on.
As an Indigenous person, you have all of the knowledge. You can feel it in your blood memories. You know how to help yourself, help your community, help the earth. We have the power to do that now.
I think we should just go take our seats. Thank you, Tequila. That was wonderful. So we're now going to transition into a panel discussion, and I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the second amazing Indigenous woman that we will be celebrating the work of tonight, Yuria Celidwen. Yuria hails from the highlands of Chiapas, Mexico. She is a member of the Nahua and Maya lineages, and she has been at the forefront of preservation of indigenous culture and land-based practices for many, many years. I first met Yuria when she was at the United Nations, and I remember the walk we took together in Central Park. I think that was the first time we met. And it was just a very beautiful way to, even in the midst of Manhattan, to really appreciate our land and have this reverence for nature. Yuria is now at the Other and Belonging Institute at UC-Berkeley, and she's also affiliated with the Department of Psychology and the Greater Good Science Center. And she is the author of an amazing new book called Flourishing Kin, which I would highly recommend. And it is a book that really brings together the ancient contemplative traditions from her indigenous cultures and modern science to offer up practices that that draw upon the indigenous wisdom that may really be incredibly relevant and helpful to us today. She has, I think, helped us formulate a recipe, and she's the master of alliteration with reverence, respect, reparation. There are many more R's that go on, but you'll hear more about her work. And Steve Paulson, an old friend, a Madison native, and a figure that many of you hear on National Public Radio, one of the founders of To the Best of Our Knowledge, and also deeply interested in the connection between science and spirit, will moderate our discussion. And to begin, we've asked Yuria to offer a land acknowledgement and to begin with a little practice. So Yuria, please.
Lektaleshe, Pameayesh, Bingtia Willalik, Wolok and Olik, you unte la bite hunte, cope, you unte taleshe. I'm calling to the lands where I was born and raised, in the village of Kwelha, the wonderlands of flowing waters. And with the clay of those lands, my great-great-grandmother forged this flute that now sings to you, to your hearts, so that we can weave our roots wherever they may come, but that have united here, right now. Come together here, right now, to break those perceived borders, perceived fears, to crack all those armors and come open like Mother Earth herself opens when we dig our hands, our hearts, our roots into her, welcoming into her womb, all together, woven into a colorful tapestry of plurality. May this be just one seed, and each of your voices, each of your hearts, the wonderlands of flowing waters that nourish those seeds into collective, planetary, sustainable flourishing. Thank you to our relatives of the Ho-Chunk, Nomini, Ocheti Chacoin, many of the other tribes in these lands that, being their home, welcome us to return, to weave, to repair, so that we all, human, more than human, elemental, can flow.
So it is such an honor for me to be part of this occasion here to help celebrate the 15th anniversary of the Center for Healthy Minds, and an opportunity to talk about where we are in this movement that you both have been working so hard for many years. And so let's talk about mindfulness a little bit. So Richie, I think when most people think about mindfulness, they think of it as some sort of meditative practice you do by yourself. You know, you go off in a quiet room, you sit on a cushion, you are trying to reduce your stress, you're trying to gain some sense of equanimity, maybe some grounding. And I think for most people, maybe especially most Americans, it's about personal well-being. It's about self-improvement. But that's not really how you think about mindfulness, is it?
Not really. I think that first, thank you for all that you're doing, Steve, and being here tonight, and thank you for the good question. I think that one of the challenges that we face in bringing contemplative practices, particularly Asian contemplative practices, to America, and this is something that Yuria, I think, has been concerned with from the indigenous perspective, is that we have stripped these practices from their ethical context, particularly. Mindfulness has become, as you say, a lot about self-improvement. And I think this is really not at all what the wise elders of these traditions envisioned. One of the most important components of the Buddhist tradition is community, is Sangha. And also what's most important is the fruits of the practice that are expressed in our everyday lives, in our relations with others. And so, contrary to some understandings and the way it's conveyed in the West, mindfulness and other contemplative practices really can be done anywhere, anytime. And they can be done in the world. They can be done in relation to others, in relation to our land, to our context, to cultivate the reverence and appreciation for the collective well-being that really is intimately tied to our own well-being.
So can you unpack that a little bit? So how does contemplative practice incorporate this ethical component that you are discussing?
Well, first of all, it doesn't always. And in a lot of the ways it's been incorporated in the West, I don't think it has. But one of the most simple ways that really can be done, I think, very universally, is that when we sit down to practice, or when we practice in the world, to invoke the intention that we're practicing not primarily for ourselves, but actually engaging in these practices is a radical act of generosity because of its impact on others. That when we engage in these practices, we are changing the social field, if you will. And the real measure of a person's practice, don't ask the person, her or himself, ask their spouse, or ask people they interact with. My spouse is sitting right there. So that's really where the impact resides.
Well, I'd love to follow up on this idea of what flourishing means, what being healthy means. And Yuria, I want to turn to you, because I know you have talked about how health is not just the absence of disease. It's something much bigger than that.
Yeah, and then we start opening the chest of treasures, right? Because unfortunately, the definition of health that the WHO continues to use to this day is from 1948. So things have changed, right? So usually it's about the absence of disease. But from an indigenous perspective, that of course, just to clarify, when I say indigenous, I'm not talking about a pan-indigenous, unique perspective. There are 5,000 indigenous communities around the world, living in around 90 countries, each with a distinct place-based relationship with their context and culture. So it's impossible to say that one represents all, but there is indeed things that are continuously appearing. And there's a consensus as well. And one very important aspect as well of the definition of what indigenous is, it has a very important political connotation, the way that it's being used in the international community right now. Speaking about how these diverse communities have joined to become representatives of a shared common struggle in different unfortunate lack of access to health, well-being, access to safe environment, healthy environments, and then of course displacement of their lands and territories and traditions. And then that has resulted in indigenous communities in areas of the world having as much as 20 years less of life expectancy, the lowest of all ethnic groups. So from that understanding of what indigenous means, then we can start talking about why this unified voice or this unified perspective, because there's a shared humanity, a shared struggle, and then also an understanding of what it means to have a contextual, lineage-based tradition with the communities that have been pre-invasion and pre-colonial societies. And so in those traditions, we start by being within a context, within a place, within a land that nourishes us. That's very ingrained in our identities. Contrary to what the mindfulness movement has brought up, that speaks about self-improvement, in many contemplative indigenous traditions, there's a beginning of starting with that place community, right? So there's already a place of connection, a place of well-being within a community, or at least an aspiring well-being for a community. So for the last few years, we've been hearing a lot about flourishing. But as the same with the mindfulness movement, we continue to hear human flourishing and human flourishing. And I've insisted for years that there is no such thing as human flourishing before Mother Earth flourishing first. So once we live with the responsibility, with ethical principles that ensure that we have a role that steward, that take care of that larger community of beings, being our bodies of water, our fauna, our flora, our skies, the health of that larger environment, not only do we find a sense of agency, the power that each of us have in changing for the well-being of the larger community, but then we realize that we are in a place, we are in a context, we have a very important responsibility, and then we act with that reverence for what we have been granted, and then the possibilities that we can do together, because we're never alone. We are born already within that community, within that welcoming place that not ensures that all is good, but rather that there is suffering, sure, but that we can all work together for that bettering, for that flourishing that is the right of all living beings.
So I think what is so inspiring about what both of you are talking about is really expanding the idea of flourishing of contemplative practice and really bringing in this political component, this social component, that it's not just about improving ourselves. It's about, I mean, this is a way to work on, to respond to the climate crisis, to pollution, to inequality, and I'm wondering how you bring those together. I mean, sort of contemplative practice, and I'll just put this word out there: love. How do you bring love into these larger social and political questions? Can love be a force for change, Richie?
I love that question. So, you know, in 1992, as I said, I made a commitment to the Dalai Lama to put compassion on the scientific map. And these days, I'm going around and saying that I'd like to do the same thing for love. And I'm really serious about that. I think that we need to normalize the discussion of love in the scientific community. And I think that it really will open up and allow us to permeate certain obstacles and boundaries that have up until now been difficult. You know, I think that simply talking about it is helpful. Of course, there's a whole set of questions about how we would go about measuring measuring love. But I think that, you know, one of the things that I often go back to is it's similar to measuring compassion. Physicists, when they study particles, they don't look at the particles directly. They look at the impact of the particles, for example, in a cloud chamber, and make inferences about the particles from their effect on other entities. We can look at the impact of love on social groups. We can look at the impact of love in organizations.
How do you do that? How do you look at, scientifically, how do you look at the impact of love?
And then, if I may jump here, because it comes then again with this similar situation with health. You know? It's like we need a definition, right? We need a new definition. The same I will say about science a little later on. But what is love? You know? And we need to also move from the love that is self-centered, that is about, oh, what enrich my whatever experience or pleasure, and rather look toward the love that so many contemplative traditions of the world talk about, which is love of the other, right? And love of all that is around. One in that, being part of that group, you know, but then that connects us with all others. So that's the way that or I would invite you to think about transcendence or even contemplative practice that transcends the very narrow-minded conditioning that keeps us very stuck in our identities, you know, that keeps us small in a way, you know, because it traps us with, it bondages us with what we think we are. And this kind of love breaks those barriers at reaching toward the other.
I think in some ways we can think of the era in which we're living as an epic struggle in some ways between the forces of fear and the forces of love. Love expands awareness and fear contracts awareness. And there are certain powerful entities in our culture that have become very adept at activating fear. And I think that the antidote to fear is love.
So I want to say a little bit more about Yuria's work, and I want you to introduce this because it's really remarkable. So I have to say that she was just very recently in the Amazon. She was in the Andes working with indigenous communities there. I know the last time we talked, we met in New York, and you were with your job at the UN there, and you had just come back from several months in the Himalayas. And you spend time with various indigenous communities, often talking with the elders there, studying their contemplative practices. And I'd love to have you talk a little bit about that, and also what we could learn from your experiences there, how this applies to what we might need to know about here.
Yes. Yes. Well, I've been carrying out a multi-year project in which I'm introducing indigenous methodologies in academia. This is new ways of doing science. It's also an invitation to break those limitations of what we understand of sciences, and then use indigenous sciences as ways of learning about the world and learning about ourselves. I call this epistemological equity because it's a way of elevating what we understand as indigenous sciences and find ways that we can contribute these different methodologies, different ontologies for a broader understanding of the world. Indigenous sciences and Western sciences vary in scope, in methods, but they are both based on observational analysis and learning of the world. But one is based on theories and hypotheses, the other is based on ceremonies and storytelling, for example. No? One is much more linear, the other is non-linear and metaphorical or symbolic. One is maybe transactional, no, or utilitarian, used in order to control whatever system is being studied. The other is relational, intersubjective, you know, and it allows it to be, to want to be transformed by the interactions. So the idea is to move from the transaction into the transcendent, you know, and then use these different methods to access flourishing or well-being for the larger communities. And the way I interact with indigenous communities is, of course, first, not only by acknowledging their place, but working directly with them about what is important in the communities, and then what kinds of reparations and maybe sharing of benefits need to return to those communities. Unlike how Western science used to be, that would just come to communities and extract tangible and intangible heritage and then never return any of those benefits, no, that result from that. And so the reason why I bring contemplative practices, that has been my passion. I come from a long lineage of spiritual practitioners from my lineages. It's because the practice of contemplation is about observation, you know, of our place in the environment, our possibility of transforming also our limitations, and then using that to serve, you know, to serve in reverence or in love for the community, the larger community. And so this way of interacting or bringing indigenous sciences allows us to then avoid the fallacy of the one universal truth that Western science tends to fall into, of thinking that one formula fits all, or that one is possible to translate one finding of a study to everything that exists. with indigenous ways that is much more broad, much more, okay, how do context works? How does this unique experience might transform all of us? And then how can we unite all these different voices for a much larger possibility? And so I think this is very exciting ways. I'm working with indigenous communities of the world in how can we unite these different voices, these different wisdoms, so that we can benefit the much larger society. So
I love the fact that both of you are up here on the stage together. And so, Richie, you, among your various capacities, you wear the hat of science, you know, of neuroscience. And I'm wondering how you've also been navigating these two worlds for decades of, you know, bringing the tools of modern science to work with contemplative traditions, especially Buddhist traditions. And how do you approach some of these questions that Yuria is talking about?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And, you know, when we first began and attempted to do contemplative neuroscience, we actually organized a visit to India where this was in 1992. We had equipment with us. We were schlepping 5,000 pounds of equipment. In those days, video cameras were much larger, computers were much larger. We actually brought our own generators. And we went to India thinking that we would launch contemplative neuroscience. And you know how much data we collected on that trip? Literally zero. And we made a commitment that we weren't going to strong-arm our way into these relationships, but we were going to really establish trust. And we visited many long-term practitioners, and these were people who had very little contact with the West, and they had no idea what we were talking about. And it was very clear that we were coming from a model of extractive Western science, bringing it to these practitioners, and it did not work at all. And we learned the hard way. We spent a fortune, spent a lot of time bringing all this equipment, and literally we were able to collect absolutely no data whatsoever. And so we really had to change our whole approach and bring the practitioners into the experimental team, so that they were actually they were not subjects, but they were collaborators. They were co-creating with us. And that's when the magic began to happen. And then more recently, we have a whole team in our center that is doing community-engaged science, because we don't know what the right questions are for communities, particularly minoritized communities, communities that are under stress and trauma. We don't know what the best questions to ask are, and so we're engaged in dialogue as collaborators, so that they can help to co-create the work itself, and that, I think, is really going to be a key strategy for the future to do much more meaningful science.
So we have just a couple of minutes left, but I want to ask you, we were talking backstage before we came out about some of your current projects with the center, and including a remarkable study that you are involved with schools in Louisville. And just as a teaser here, can you give us a sense of what you're up to?
Sure. So thank you for asking. So one of my passions when I'm asked that question these days is to scale well-being. Humans have learned somehow to brush their teeth every day. When we first evolved, we weren't brushing our teeth. And I'm sure everyone in this room spends a few minutes a day brushing their teeth. If we spent the same amount of time each day nourishing our mind and our heart, this world would be a totally different place. So we need to figure out how to do that. And we've been doing it sector by sector. And one sector that we've been working with is educators. And we did this project with a large group of educators, almost 1,000 teachers in Louisville, Kentucky. We had them go through a 30-day program, just a few minutes a day. And yes, it improved their well-being, but here's the real kicker. Not only did it improve the well-being, but the students, these are K through 12 students, the kids who were taught by teachers who were randomly assigned to be in this well-being training, those children performed significantly better on standardized tests than students who were taught by teachers randomly assigned to a control condition. Nobody has ever shown that before in the world. And this will be the first findings of its kind. And this is in a very large sample, more than 10,000 students. This is like super cool. So, and this is the first public mention of this work. And the work was done by Matt Hirschberg, who really deserves all the credit. He's an incredible young scientist in our center.
So we're going to wrap things up here, but Richie, I know you are going to introduce Yuria with a closing ceremony in a way.
Yes, so Yuria, please, there's a poem that Yuria has chosen that we'd like her to read to end our dialogue together.
And I know we only have a couple of minutes, but I'll reclaim our collective right to eternity to then keep this moment flowing and going. And I'll also give this, Richie. Yes, we can nourish our hearts and our minds, but what about having 5 minutes to nourish our Mother Earth? And then let that flourish. And I'd like to share with you this poem that I wrote in one of those moments of eternity. And is my gift also for the great work the center has done, and for may this be also more seeds that come together. And the poem is called Fertile Ground. To know the son of wind is to know your word. Know you're made of songs and silence. The kindest word is where the healing comes, from tempests and from foes. To know the son of water is to know your form. Know you're made of abysses and waves. Day and night, they flow and go in constant, restless games. To know the son of fire is to know your mind. Know you're made of light and stars, that in the shadows dreams give tender moonlight gleams. To know the son of earth is to know your heart. Know you're made of seeds and blood. Within your web of roots, bliss flows. To nourish life, to live in love. Hokolawe. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuria. Thank you, Steve. We're going to have like a 2-minute transition, and I will introduce the next part of the program in just one moment. Okay, if I can have everyone's attention.
Your lavalier is on.
If I can have everyone's attention, please. The program is not over, so please keep seated. And we're just moving these chairs and microphone out of the way. And there's a very special part of the program that is about to start. So if you all please come in and take your seats again, we'd really appreciate that. Those standing in the back, please come in, take your seats. Jonathan, are we ready? We're ready?
Yep.
Okay.
We're ready for you to introduce her.
Okay, great. Okay. So if I can have everyone's attention, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce the third amazing Indigenous woman this evening who just arrived from Palestine. Her name is Dalal Abu Amneh. And Dalal is a neuroscientist and also a singer and an activist. Dalal has had really an extraordinary career. She's extremely well known throughout the Arabic world for her singing and bringing communities like grandmothers together to sing songs of love and peace and to promote harmony within and across different religious communities. I first met Dalal during a visit to Israel a number of years ago, and she has been subject to just unconscionable persecution and harassment in her current situation. And she wrote to me about 9 months ago and asked if I would write a letter of recommendation for her for a program at Harvard called Scholars Under Siege, or Scholars at Risk, for scholars who are in precarious situations where they're being politically persecuted. And I said, of course, I'm very happy to write the letter. And I asked her who she was going to work with at Harvard and what she was going to do. And she really didn't have much of an idea of who she would work with. And I said, well, why don't you come to our center? And she said, really? And I said, yeah, really. And then I didn't hear from her for quite some time. And then she sent me a note and she said, I'm coming. And she actually arrived just about 5 weeks ago. She's here in Madison with her 2 children who are attending West High School, who are here in the audience. Laura and Hashim, where are you guys? Okay, great to see you. Yeah. And in the short time that Dalal has been here, we have put this together. She has put this together. I made it very clear that this was an invitation, not a request, not a requirement. This is the very first time she is performing in a year, because this past year has been such a traumatic year. And so this is her first concert in a year, and she has given concerts all over the world. But this is a very unusual event that we're doing tonight, and part of it is going to be a citizen science activity. So you all be participants in citizen science that Dalal will lead. And I should say that Dalal is a really serious neuroscientist. She got her PhD from the Technion, which is the Israeli equivalent of MIT. And she did hardcore molecular neuroscience, not like the kind of stuff that we do. She's like a really very bona fide, hard-nosed scientist. And in addition, you'll hear her extraordinary voice. And she is here with Waniz and Kareem, who you'll meet, who are amazing musicians from Chicago. And let me now welcome Dalal and the musicians to the stage. Science experiment will require all of you to take out your smartphones. You don't have to do it now, and please keep them on silent. But at a certain point, we're going to ask you to simply, on a web browser on your phone, go to menti.com. And we'll put up the details on the slides, and you will type in a code, and then you will actually provide data. So you'll see how this works. It's the first time we're doing it. So there may be some glitches. Please be patient, but it'll be really cool.
Thank you so much, Yuria, for that kind, wonderful, overwhelming introduction. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. And I'm really and deeply honored to be part of the brilliant work that has been conducted by the Center for Healthy Minds. As a neuroscientist and as a singer, my journey has always been about exploring the beautiful connections between music, the mind, and our collective well-being. I believe that music is not just a tool or a form of art. It is actually a powerful tool for healing and transformation. Today, I want to share with you some music from my own culture and tradition, from the Arabic culture, Palestinian heritage, and Islamic Sufi tradition. You may be unfamiliar with the melodies or the scales, but I'm here to show you that music
can engage us all, no matter where we come from. So its power transcends language and culture, reaching directly to our hearts and soul. As I perform each piece, I would love for you to tune in to how music makes you feel. During this presentation, I will ask you to participate in some real-time polling to share your emotions and thoughts, and together with your participation and singing, we will explore how we are all connected through this music. For those of you that are nervous to sing, don't worry, I will help you. Okay, I'm also so very delighted to have with me on stage these very talented musicians. Please welcome Wanis Zarour and Karim Nagy. Let's discover together the magic of music. So now, okay, I will change the slide to help you. Now, I would like to invite you to join me in this special experience. I'm going to sing a Sufi song poem by Rumi. As you may know, Sufism is the mystical tradition within Islam. So let's practice saying Amin first. Amin carries the same meaning as Amen, meaning let it be so. So, Wanis, would you please give us a C? Play a C for us here. So, Amin. Wow. Amin. Allah. Ya aini. It's, beautiful. Now, I would like to ask you to sing the same Amin, but on a different note. So let's play it on G, for example. Amin. 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 Wow. Now I will divide you into two groups. So let's say this part will say the lower Amin. Amin. Amazing. And you will say the other Amin. So, Amin. Amin. Let's try it once together. Amin. Amazing. Wow, wonderful. Now I will be singing beautiful phrases by Rumi. Once I finish each phrase, we all can take a breath and sing Amin in harmony as we did it just right now. So please. منتشيا بأنغامك تذهب منتشيا بأنغامك تذهب أنت يا روحي من كل الأرواح أنت يا روحي من كل الأرواح فلا تذهب بدوني فلا تذهب بدوني لا تدع الأرض تدور بدوني لا تدع الأكوان تسبح بدوني لا تدع الأرض تدور بدوني Beautiful, amazing, wonderful. Okay, now I would like to invite you to join me in another exercise. This time we will be singing two simple Arabic words. Allah Hayy means God is alive, or the divine is alive. And in Islam, this serves, just like a mantra, what we call dhikr, a remembrance of the different virtues of Allah. So let's begin by repeating these words together, allowing the rhythm and the meaning to sink in. So, Allah Hayy, Allah Hayy, Allah Hayy, wow. Allah Hayy, 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 Allah Hayy. Allah Hayy, 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 Allah Hayy. وتحسب أنك جرم صغير وفيك انطوى العالم الأكبر وفيك انطوى العالم الأكبر وفيك انطوى العالم الأكبر. الله حي 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 الله Okay, now we are gonna bring science to the people. Each one of you will be a scientist, and you will be able to explore your own mind. So I invite you to participate in a real-time poll, and we are going to provide the results back to you immediately. So to participate in the poll, you only need to enter this website and provide the code written here, and you will be ready. That's it. Okay, so now we will explore how subtle changes in music can shift our emotional and cognitive perception. I will sing short phrases and melodies for you, and by making small adjustments to certain musical components like pitch or tempo or scale, we will see if these changes influence our emotional and cognitive responses. So let's start with the first exercise. Okay, I will sing a melody and a specific note, and you will respond how you felt after hearing it. And then I will sing the same melody at another note, and we'll see the difference. Okay, so the first one. Give me How do you feel, please? You can respond. Wow. Amazing. So now we will continue to the same exact thing that I did, melody, but with fa, F. I will do it. How do you feel now? Ah, I have to change. You know, we are here. No, I will control it, yeah. So now it's question number 2. So please, I will sing it again. No. So, okay. The first one was the Now I will sing it for this question in this type. So, how do you feel? Amazing. Okay, now we are moving to our third question. To demonstrate the impact of tempo on our emotions, we are going to sing something that you probably never had heard before. I will start it. How do you feel? Joy. Okay, amazing. Now I will sing the same Vivaldi piece with a slower tempo. So, wow, what a clever audience. Okay, now we're going to demonstrate the effect of the different scales on our emotions. So, Wanis, would you please explain for us what is a scale, a musical scale, and give us some examples, to experience the differences between different scales?
Absolutely. Can everybody hear me? Great. So, a scale is a set of consecutive notes or pitches that are related to each other based on interval or distance between one note and another, or one pitch and another. So an interval, these notes are, for example, far from each other, something like this, and then very far. And then there is a shorter or smaller interval, which is like this, for example. They're very close, right? So a set of notes that makes up a scale, which is kind of the building block of melodies. This is a scale. Going up, going down, ascending and descending. And here's another scale.
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I will be singing the first scale, and let's see how you feel. Okay, so the first one is So the second one, okay, yeah. Let's move to this second one. So, tira, tira, ra, ra, tira. Wow, amazing. So now we will examine how music can affect not only our emotions, but also our cognition. So I will sing pieces from the Arabic and Palestinian heritage, and I will ask you to respond on how you interpret their meaning, even without knowing the lyrics. I will not be singing the lyrics. So I will ask you whether you think it is a national anthem, a love song, a Harvard song, a spiritual song, or a lullaby. So, okay, here's the question. So I will start with the first piece. Dun da 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 da. Dee da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Wow. Very significant, yeah. Okay. So the second piece. Okay. Now the second song will be ti 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 re ti re ti ra ri ti ra ri ti ra ri ti ra ri ti ra ra. Wow, interesting. Okay. Yeah, the green one is. So this is the true answer, but it is interesting, yeah, to see the cultural differences between. Okay, so now let's move to another song. So. Wow. Yes, that's true. Amazing. Wow. So now to the last one. We'll go. Okay, it's a religious song, actually. But here we can say something about, you know, Sufis, for example, see God as their beloved. They love God. So we can have many overlaps, and it's logical and amazing. Yeah. So thank you for being scientists now and, you know, participating in this. Okay, so now I would like to shift our focus to another powerful aspect of music. Its impact not only on our cognitive and emotional levels, but also on our physical perception. To help demonstrate this, I'm excited to ask Karim Nagy, the brilliant percussionist, to join us in this demonstration. Amazing sound.
Sound for healing.
What's the feeling?
Well,
it's disgusting, something maybe. What's the
nice
feeling
sound.
of this sound? Yeah.
Yes, it's a... Good evening, everyone. In our tradition, we have rhythm. In order to make the rhythm, we need two sounds. We need one deep sound, which in Arabic we called dum. That would be the lower frequency sound. And then we need one high sound, which we call in Arabic tek, which is also the same sound that we call when a woodpecker hits a tree. So dum and tek are our two sounds, and those are the two sounds that will make up whatever rhythm you want. For example, dun dun da da dun 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 dun. I just played doom tek tek doom tek. That's like this. So you will help us in playing the following song that's coming, called Binti Shalabeya, through your clapping and making 2 sounds by clapping. So everyone, you can put down your phones and use your free hands. And this is what we can make for the sound doom, the low sound. You clap, but you have this empty space on the inside, so it would sound like this. And stop. Very nice. Great. And then we have our second sound, tek, which is a very sharp one. So you would put your 2 hands flat together to make that sound, and go. And stop. Really nice, everyone. So let's put the 2 sounds together. Doom, doom, tek, tek, doom, doom, tek, and go. And stop. Very nice. And nice. So let's play the rhythm for Bint Shalabeya. We will count to 8. We will do a doom on number 1, a doom on number 4, and a tek on number 7. So how about you watch me do it and then join? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go. Now you can. Very nice, everyone. Thank you.
Wow, so should we start? So now, as we come to the end of our time together today, I would love to share a special Palestinian folk song with you. This song that my ancestors, my great-grandmothers and grandfathers used to sing to ask God to bring rain. Through these simple folk songs, I have been able to bridge the gap between Palestinian refugees across the world, helping them feel spiritually connected to their homeland. These songs have a profound ability to bring them back home, even if only in spirit. Throughout my musical journey, I have been honored to sing alongside Palestinian grandmothers, listening to their stories, their songs, and prayers, and guided by their divine feminine wisdom. Let's raise our voices together and embody the spirit of this prayer, not only asking for rain, but for renewal, healing, and blessing for our world. From this stage, at the World We Make in Wisconsin, we have the opportunity to share a message of justice, freedom, and love with the entire world. Let's make a moment to pray for an end to the war and suffering of my people and innocent peoples everywhere. Let's sing together for hope, for love, for justice, and for peace. We will be singing Shora Banna, which means God bring us rain. You will be accompanying me, in the phrase, and we will start it now. Shora Banna, 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 Ya Rabbina, Ya Rabbina, تبعث غيومك لجلنا نقطة مطر لمرجنا يطلع ويكبر زرعنا شورى بنا شورى بنا يا ربنا رب المنى تملى علينا دارنا بطفل تيجي بالهنا وتضل جوا عيوننا شورى بنا شورى بنا يا طيوري ويا نجوم السما ادعوا لنا الآخر مدى للرحم يطلع بالطنا لبي الدعاء يا ربنا شورى بنا 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 شورى بنا.
Thank you so much, Dalal, and musicians Kareem and Wanis, thank you. It was really so special. I want to let everyone know that there's a reception downstairs, so please join us. And thank you for coming this evening. Thank you for your support. And may you all join us on this journey and continue to help make this world a better place. Thank you so much.